need to start with a drink. Clink. Thanks for bringing the bottle of whiskey in here for this one.
Mm-hmm. So, this morning, like most mornings of my life, I woke up way too early.
You always
I didn't
do.
have to.
You never do.
But I did.
Mm-hmm.
I got nowhere to be, nothing to do. And yet, I still woke up at 3 a.m.
Right.
So,
well, part of it's because you go to bed early. Well, you don't go to bed as early anymore.
No. But I still wake up at the same time.
Right.
So I went to the living room.
Yeah.
And I was watching police chase videos.
Probably, yeah. Body
while
cam
listening
stuff.
to Cat Stevens.
Is that how you find the balance in your life?
Yeah, that is the balance. It's the chaotic with the melodic, I guess.
Chaotic and melodic. Dude, I love that.
It is the duality of man.
Not a walrus?
No. But, as I'm listening to Cat Stevens, if you want to sing out, sing out. If you want to be free, be free.
Yeah.
Because there's a million things you can be.
You know that there are.
Yeah. So, like, some of us can be firemen, lawyers, doctors, podcasters.
Sure.
And some of us are unfortunate enough to be walruses. Which brings us to this film.
Uh-huh. Which was your choice.
Yeah.
You've been talking about wanting to do this for a while.
Yeah.
I have not been bringing it up to remind you.
You've seen this before. I've seen this before.
We saw it when it was new.
I saw it, when it was new.
Yeah.
Like when it had just
2014 is when it was released.
Right. And I haven't seen it since until this morning.
Right.
What do you think of this film?
I think we need Bullet Machine first because I have things to say.
Welcome to our show about pop culture stuff. We keep watching and connected, but it's never enough. Talking with our friends about our favorite things. TV shows and movies and some random swearing. This is the pretty little podcast.
Hello, all you pretty little people. This is the Nazi podcast. That's Notsee, not the Haiti kind. I'm your host, Deadbeat Chad, and with me is just Jess.
Yeah, that's me. Here I am. I'm Haley Joel Osment in this situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I end up better.
Yeah, you get the chick, too.
Yeah, I do. Hell yeah. Go me.
Which, that was weird.
Yeah.
That whole situation was weird, too. There's a lot of weirdness in this.
What movie are we doing?
Tusk.
Okay. Tusk is a 2014 American independent body horror film written and directed by Kevin Smith. Other people call this a comedy. And there are comedic elements, right? Johnny Depp's whole nonsense is definitely like the comedic part of it. I enjoyed this movie more this time. I did not like it the first time I saw it because it genuinely freaked me the fuck out. Like actually.
I mean, this movie comes out in the wake of like the Human Centipede, right? It's that type of. I don't really think that would. You're going to get into the specifics of how this movie was made.
Correct.
You know more about that than I did.
I do.
I personally think, had it not been for Human Centipede, we don't get Tusk.
At first, like while we were watching this, because I was also doing some research while we were watching, especially the long Walrus segments that really do unsettle me. Justin Long does a great job. Michael Park does a great job.
Let me say that right off the bat.
The acting there is
everybody
astounding.
In this is doing a great job.
Well, not Johnny Depp, but
he kind of phoned it in.
Well, he was enjoying himself,
that's
right?
The character.
Sure, whatever. Everybody did a great job, and that's my problem is both Michael Park, who plays the antagonist Howard Howe, and Justin Long, who becomes Walrus against his will, they're too fucking good. Michael Park is legitimately scary to me. He gets the dead eyes.
He is by far doing the best job in this movie.
But Justin Long does a great job too.
He is playing it straight. He is playing it
well. 100%.
I was actually there were scenes in this where he was, at the beginning of the movie when he's talking to Justin Long, and telling him about his stories
and Hemingway and all of that.
Stuff, that was like, it was actually very
like you want to be there with that man listening to his stories.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why you would think he's a captivating person that you would want to,
right?
That aside,
he is a captivating person in a way. He captives you.
Yeah, right.
He captivated Justin Long.
He did. He captivated
his legs right the fuck off.
And also another thing that I'm gonna just get out of the way here. I'm probably going to piss off a lot of Kevin Smith fans in this episode, because I personally am not a huge fan of Kevin Smith. I used to be when I was younger, back in the 90s. With the Jay and Silent Bob movies, your Mallrats, your Chasing Amy's, your Clerks, all that. I was on board.
View askew.
I will tell you exactly what point that changed.
Okay.
I can do that now, if you wish.
How about I tell you how this movie came to be?
Okay. Yeah, go for it.
So while we were watching it, one of the things I said to you was... and it was really dumb on my part. I am blonde for people who have never looked at me. I had a blonde moment, right? They're real. And I was dumb. And I was like, how are you supposed to make a podcast about this movie? But this is the ultimate podcast movie, because not only do Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment have a podcast, and that is like what drives the plot. This became on a podcast, Smodcast, like Kevin Smith's podcast.
Right.
It was a joke that him and his co-host kept building and kept building and kept building and amusing themselves as this idea of what's the most ridiculous fucking thing we can do. And they built this whole, and that's the plot of the movie. And then they put it out to their fans and they were like, hey, hashtag Walrus yes or Walrus no.
Right.
And there was more Walrus yes. So he made the movie. Like, this whole thing started because of a podcast. I'm sure that's why the podcast is like a big prominent feature in the movie as well.
Right.
So now we are a podcast doing a movie about a podcast created by another podcast.
It's Podception.
Oh my God. It's podcast cubed, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So,
I was not aware of that. I know what Smodcast is. I used to listen to it years and years ago.
Yeah.
Anything
to be honest,
else,
I don't know if it's still going on.
I would say that Smodcast was not my favorite. It's definitely not something that the thing that made me want to do a podcast and be serious about doing a podcast was Last Podcast on the Left.
Right.
That's
though we're more, well, never mind. I won't say.
Yeah, but I mean, instead of true crime, we're working in our own wheelhouse, right?
Right. Well, I was gonna compare us to another podcast, but I don't like that podcast anymore, so I'm not gonna bring it up.
How did this get made?
I wasn't gonna say. Shut
up. Yeah. How did this get made? Kind of. I loved that.
Jason Mantzoukas, come on.
Yeah. I started falling short for me, and I quit listening. But
to each their own.
So instead of listening, why not make one?
Right.
And that's what we're doing here. But when it comes to Kevin Smith,
yeah.
When I was younger, I definitely was on the Jay and Silent Bob bandwagon.
You dressed up as Jay for Halloween once.
Really did.
I remember.
It really did hit something in my teenage brain that, the immaturity of it, it was funny enough. And yeah, I loved the very first Kevin Smith movie I saw was Mallrats. I saw that in theaters, not even knowing what the hell Kevin Smith was or who Jay and Silent Bob were.
Right.
It was just my friends going to see a movie. It was called Mallrats.
Well, if you were like me back in the day, I saw pretty much every movie in theaters. Like, that's what you did.
Right.
So.
And I loved it. I went and saw that movie probably 3 or 4 more times in the theaters and bought it on VHS when it came out. I lived that movie. And then from there, I was just like, oh, Jay and Silent Bob are in these other films too.
Yeah.
They were in Clerks. Let's go watch Clerks.
Right.
And then by the time Dogma.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite Kevin Smith movie from now until forever.
Yeah, by the time Dogma came out, like I was hooked. Like, I didn't really care for Chasing Amy. I have my own problems with that movie that will go unsaid. I really don't like that movie at all.
Tell me out of recording because I'm curious.
Okay, fine. But just on the record, Chasing Amy, not my favorite film.
Okay.
Think it's very fitting that if you go to any half-price books and you look in the bargain DVD bin, you're going to find 2 Criterion movies in the bargain bin for $2 or less.
Uh-huh.
That's Chasing Amy and The Royal Tenenbaums.
Oh my God. Shots fired today.
Yeah. There's a reason
You
for that.
own both of those movies.
There's a reason why 2 Criterion movie releases
Don't
are going
get
to
me
be found in
started
the
on
bargain
Criterion.
bins
I think a lot of that's really pretentious and stupid.
Well, these particular movies are.
Okay, go ahead.
Around the time that Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back came out, I was a huge fan.
I know.
I went and saw that in theaters.
You love that movie
I bought the
way
DVD.
more than I do.
I could quote that movie front to back even today.
It's true.
Even though I don't really care for it anymore. And why is because we used to have an apartment.
Yeah.
And we were smokers.
Okay. Yeah.
But we didn't smoke in the house.
No, you smoke
so we
on
went
the
out on the patio.
Right.
And the apartment that we had, the patio, like overlooked the courtyard with the swimming pool and everything.
Okay. Yeah.
And one night I went out to have a cigarette and I'm sitting there and on one of the like picnic tables outside of the pool, there was a group of drunk women.
Okay.
That were sitting at this table just being loud as shit and obnoxious.
All right.
And one of them started doing the Jay rap from the beginning of Jay and Silent Bob. And they were just, it was the cringiest thing I'd ever witnessed firsthand. And I think that was the moment where I was just like, this is not for me anymore.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
I outgrew it at that fucking moment.
That's interesting because, like I said, you dressed up as Jay for Halloween. You had the beanie, you had the long hair, you had all that shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
You used to quote it all the time. I mean, I came to Kevin Smith later. Dogma was the first one I saw, and it's taking down religion, right, and breaking it down and showing how ridiculous the whole Buddy Christ thing, and you know, and it had a lot of people I liked in it, and I don't really just love that. I love that movie to this day. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I bet you it's still funny.
Yeah.
Not just because Alan Rickman's in it, although he's great in that.
Dogma's fine.
And George Carlin, that was my introduction to Jay and Silent Bob. I didn't know them before seeing Dogma. So then going back later on and watching Clerks and Chasing Amy and Mallrats and all of that, I came into it later. So, I was like, oh shit, there's like lore here.
Oh, and bringing it back to Clerks as a movie does nothing for me. What does it for me is the fact that this was a very much like a group of friends getting together.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Independent, like with a capital I.
The amount of things that Kevin Smith had to sacrifice to get that movie made, right. I appreciate 100%.
Yes.
The movie itself is whatever. Like, it's one of those things that if I were to go back and watch it now, the first time that I watched it was probably sometime in like 96.
Mm-hmm.
So that movie came out in 92.
Okay.
Maybe 94 or
I'm
something
not
like that. I don't know. But
94 sounds right.
Whatever time that I watched it, it already felt dated. Not just because it was black and white, but
that was intentional anyways.
Yeah, sure. But now I feel like going back and if I were to watch it now, it would be one of those things where it's like so outdated that now it's nostalgic. So, and I do appreciate that there are no cell phones. There's no internet. There's no...
I mean, it's a very simple story, right?
Yeah.
But what irritates me about Clerks, and I'm sorry, it's okay. And I'm going to probably piss off other people too. It in a Monty Python way. Because people fucking say, I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
Right.
As much as they quote the fucking Holy Grail, which has made me dislike both of the original properties to the point where I don't want to watch them.
Yeah, the fans of Kevin Smith movies will ruin a Kevin Smith movie for you immediately.
Well, yeah. I've never cared for Jay. I love Silent Bob. Okay? I love him. I love his trench coat. I like his green coat. I love his hat. I love his attitude. I love that he only speaks for the most part. And I know you hate Chasing Amy. My favorite part of Chasing Amy is his speech, where he finally has something to fucking say.
Not surprised because that's what everybody says.
Well, okay. What's wrong with that though? Sometimes people are right at picking out the best part of something.
That's fine. Chasing Amy is not for me.
Look, I have not seen Kevin Smith in some time. I know he lost a whole bunch of weight and Hopefully
After
that
his
was
heart
by
attack,
choice
that was kind of a
and good
wake-up call.
good for him. That's
He
awesome.
needed to lose weight. He needed to get healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand
So
that.
I don't,
100%,
to be fair, I don't know what he's been up to. I don't know what he's doing. I never saw Yoga Hosers, which is apparently intended to be a direct sequel of this movie.
I own Yoga Hosers, and
It's wrapped up.
It is still in the cellophane.
Yeah.
I've still not watched it. I probably won't.
But at the same time, like, I love Yoga Hosers. I've never seen it. I probably never will. Why I love it is that he got to the point where he could make something and put his daughter in it and put Johnny Depp's daughter, because they're both like the two characters they play are in this movie, Tusk.
Right, yes.
Just in a way, like what Critical Role has become, what people that start out super independent and small and just with passion and determination to make something happen because they enjoy it, to get to the point where you can do something and be like, I'm going to put my daughter and your daughter in this and we're just going to have fun. Whatever. Yeah, again, this movie Tusk came from a joke on a podcast.
Right.
So even though I still don't know if I like this movie,
I do.
I love that it exists because that is something.
I like this movie because look, for me,
It's
when
so
it comes to Kevin Smith anymore, right? So when I was a kid, I loved his movies.
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob like hit me on a level that was
Well, you
immature.
also smoked a lot of pot. I'm sure that helped.
Yeah,
Come on,
it
let's
definitely
just
helped.
be honest.
But as I got older and I just kind of outgrew it, like
Fuck that woman, that drunk woman who fucked that for you,
things
man.
like Tusk, things like Red State. When Kevin Smith gets out of his Jay and Silent Bob characters and makes something new and creative,
Right.
I tend to like that more. I wish he would do more of that.
Well,
you know,
he may
instead
have,
of
honestly. I don't
instead
know.
of making his Clerks 3. They did another Jay and Silent Bob movie for Netflix.
I just had the worst flashback of Clerks 2.
Yeah,
With Jay, with the fucking Silence of the Lambs dance. I hate it so much.
Zach and Mary make a porno. That was another one that was like in the same vein, but
I enjoyed that, man. I like, people hate Seth Rogen now, probably because he was everywhere for there was too much of him.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
When we're not recording.
Should I not be recorded saying that I thought it was funny?
I don't give a shit. I fucking hate Seth Rogen.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't stand the motherfucker
Okay,
at all.
well, whatever. I thought it was funny.
I don't care who knows it.
Fantastic, Chad. I thought that movie was funny. I don't know.
No, don't get me wrong. He's a funny guy and he's a good actor, but I fucking hate his guts.
Well, I am very apart from a lot of Hollywood stuff. So a lot of what I say comes from opinions of like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Because I watch anime. I watch fucking Korean shit. I don't watch a lot of Western media anymore. So I don't know. Kevin Smith to me will always be dogma, no matter what else came after. So you want to talk about actual Tusk though?
We probably should, since that's the topic of the episode.
Yeah, and eventually we will get to the absolute fucking soul deep jump scare I had at the end of this, the very, very end of this movie. But did you see? We'll get to it later. But the shirt I'm wearing was chosen purposefully.
So set this thing up.
Fuck. So Justin Long and Haley Joel Osment, and no, I'm not bothering with their names. Their character names. They have a podcast. Basically it seems to me like they find like viral videos and make fun of them, right? So
yep.
Justin Long, like they have this thing called the Kill Bill Kid, who is Josh Gad randomly. And that is the thing. There are a total of 14 people in this movie. And there are some weird fucking cameos that we'll get to in a little bit. Harley Morstein, I think is his name, is in this movie. What? Okay.
You're more familiar with him than I am.
Well, literally because Aaron Hansen of Game Grumps fought him in the first Creator Clash, and he does Epic Mealtime. I don't know what he does now, but so I saw I saw like months of Harley's a chump at the beginning of Game Grumps episodes with his face right there.
Yeah.
Aaron lost that fight. He was outmatched. It's like totally Harley's a huge guy.
Is epic.
Well, yes, and he's fucking huge. He's a massive guy. Anyways, and Aaron won the next fight. It doesn't matter. We're not getting into YouTube boxing matches, but that's what I know him from. Anyways, Josh Gad is he's fucking. It's the Star Wars kid, right? It's a version of the Star Wars kid. Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
I know it looks like him.
Yes.
That was my immediate thought was Olaf, but...
Olaf. What does it say when you think of him as Olaf?
When the credits were rolling, I think it said it was somebody else.
Okay, well, hold on.
This guy really looks like Josh Gad, but I don't think it was him.
Oh my God, it's not.
I think it was like Jason something.
No, it says Doug Banks.
Doug
Holy
Banks.
shit, it's not. Okay, so not Josh Gad.
He
Wow.
looks just like Josh Gad.
He really does.
You would mistake him
What?
immediately for
Who
Josh
the fuck is Doug Banks?
I don't know. He's probably a YouTuber or something.
Okay.
Another
What?
podcaster.
He doesn't have a wiki because otherwise his name would be blue here.
But
okay.
no, when I saw that, I
That's
thought
crazy.
it was him until the credits rolled.
Well, yeah, because I think of him as the gay LeFou from the live action Beauty and the Beast. Anyways, we won't go into live action Disney movies. Jesus Christ, what a rabbit hole.
No.
But yeah, I mean, okay, so it's not even him. Anyways, it's a parody of the Star Wars kid, which anybody our age knows exactly what that is.
Yep.
That one of the first viral videos, right? Okay, we don't need to go anymore and shame the boy.
Yeah, around the same time as Yuma Yuma.
Yes.
And all
yes.
yeah.
It's just a guy probably in a theater room. I don't remember the lore.
Back before YouTube was monetized. And
from what I remember hearing, whether this is true or not, he recorded it, someone found it and uploaded it to like mock him.
Right.
So, but he's being super cool with his lightsaber, right? He's doing a lightsaber fight. Is he overweight? Yes. Is it pathetic? Yes. Anyway, Star Wars kid. So this is a parody of that, the Kill Bill kid, because he has a sword and he cuts his own leg off, right?
Yep.
And they're like, bah, ha, 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 and mocking him. So the whole purpose of this movie, Justin Long is going to go up and interview him because
into Canada.
Right, into Canada. He lives in Los Angeles. The Kill Bill kid lives in Canada, so he's going to go up. He says throughout the movie at some point, he says the Kill Bill kid reached out to him. He was like, he turned down Oprah Winfrey, but he wants to talk to me,
right.
Which honestly makes sense. If you have the kind of podcast that is doing this kind of content, that's the interview you want to do.
I'll go on another podcast before I go on Oprah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Oprah's not the place for viral video talk.
No.
Right? So yeah, so that's the premise. Justin Long gets up there and finds out that the Kill Bill kid killed himself a couple of days before.
Now, was it? They don't really mention whether it was
with his
intentional
sword
or accidental.
They say he killed himself with a sword,
but it could have been accidental.
He says committed suicide. So,
okay.
But that is Justin Long's take on it. Well, it's when he's on the phone at the bar after talking about how fucking selfish he is.
But I don't remember him saying he committed suicide.
Yeah, he said he killed himself with the fucking sword.
Yeah, and he's like,
they're fucking rude. They're so rude.
He couldn't have waited 2 more days.
It's so inconsiderate. Asshole. Yeah. So that tells you what kind of person Justin Long is in this movie. Yeah, he's kind of a
douchebag asshole.
He does not deserve what happens to him.
It seems like he started out doing the podcast as kind of a decent guy, and then as he became more and more famous,
he plays it. Well, I think what happened is because through conversations and flashbacks, like with his girlfriend and stuff, he became a character for the show. And then never got out of
his
character.
Personality.
Right, yes.
Whatever the audience wants, he's playing to that.
Because she's talking about, I miss the old Wallace. Wallace is his fucking Wallace Brighton. Thank you. Yeah. Excellent job, me. You know, she's talking about, I miss how you used to be. And he's like, dude, I was fucking nothing. I got paid $100,000 in AdSense alone last year. Like, this is what the people want. And she was like, yeah, but you say you had nothing. You had me. Mm-hmm. If it's for the show, keep it for the show. Like, I still love you. But then you find out, like, he's cheating on her and shit. But then she's also cheating on him. So
with Haley Joel Osment.
But are they actually... See, here's my theory with that. I don't think they're fucking.
I do.
I don't.
Why?
Because she sees him as a safe place.
No. Here's what's going on here.
He does use her toothbrush, though, which is gross.
The whole point of their podcast, it's called the Not See podcast.
N-O-T-S-E-E.
Right. It's a play on Nazi, but not see. And the reason why is because Justin Long's character goes out on the road and finds these weird stories to talk about
and comes
while
back to
Haley Joel Osment stays behind.
Right. And
he does not see what he's doing until he comes back and shows him.
Yeah, it's real dumb.
But I think I think that is just a ploy to get Justin Long's character out of the picture so that those two can fuck.
I don't think so, because he's aware of their friendship. Because
why is she telling him to come back to bed? why is she telling him to brush his teeth before he comes back to bed?
Because they are close and they cuddle. I don't think they fuck. I don't think she's actually fucking him. I think that he is desperate to. No, I'm being serious. I think that he is absolutely simping for her and will be anything. So I don't think she feels the need to fuck him. He is her emotional safe space. Okay. And this is woman talk that maybe you don't understand. I don't know. She doesn't need to fucking put out. She gets everything she needs from him without having to do that.
He talks about like whenever he's when Wally's or
Justin
Long's character is out on the road. He's even talking about how he takes her to the fucking museum.
The Getty, yes. He is the boyfriend without fucking. Because she doesn't need to fuck him to get everything she like. It's like she has one relationship. She gets the sex with Justin Long.
Then why does she want him to change?
Because she loves Wallace. Dude, the thing is, none of the three of them are great people.
Exactly why I think she's fucking.
I don't think I'm just saying she doesn't feel the need to actually have to fuck him because she can get everything she needs out of that side of a relationship.
Multiple times in this movie about how Wallace has cheated on her.
Yes.
Multiple times.
And how terrible a person he is.
Then why wouldn't she do the same?
She doesn't have to.
Brush her teeth and come to bed.
Yeah. I swear he used her toothbrush because there was only 2 toothbrushes in that cup and one has to be Justin Long's because it's his fucking apartment. So that means that Haley Joel Osment used her toothbrush. And
there you go.
No, that's fucking gross. I don't care who you are. I wouldn't use your toothbrush.
If you're not intimate with them.
I would not use your toothbrush.
I've seen this in movies before.
I know. I'm saying he is so down bad that even if he's not getting fucked, he is the boyfriend in all except for that.
I think you're wrong, but that's just me.
Whatever. Anyways, that's my view. So Justin Long gets up to Canada. He sees the border guard is Harley Morstein, who again is a YouTuber and all of that. And I was like, I swear to God, that's that Harley guy. But why would that be him?
I've never seen this guy before, and even in the scene, I was like, that has to be somebody.
Yes, he has too much personality and quips and stuff like that to not be somebody.
He's far too like YouTube-y.
Yes, he's a YouTuber. So I assume that Kevin Smith went to some YouTube parties or something and got to, because around that time, Harley was definitely a lot bigger. I don't think he's as big
he could be a friend anymore. Of Kevin Smith's.
That's what I'm saying. They probably met like through, I mean, like, even back to the Game Grumps, they know, they have different people on the show sometimes that you're like, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah. When are we going to get that treatment? When are we going to start rubbing elbows with the celebrities of YouTube?
I don't care to necessarily.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, if you want to be real technical, not to throw my own ass around, I have a friend who's a big YouTuber.
Oh, yeah.
I've been to his house. I've hugged him and his wife.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yeah, I love him. Anyways, we're not talking about that. Yeah, so he gets up there. The Kill Bill kid is... We're falling into the old format of describing this movie. I'm not doing that. We're stopping that shit right now. What are your thoughts about this movie? What stood out to you?
That it's such a weird installment in Kevin Smith's filmography.
Okay.
This is outside of Jay and Silent Bob.
It's body horror.
This is outside of the View Askew universe that he's created, that he just kind of like a crutch relies on. Well,
you say that, but a lot of directors have their groups of actors and people and recurring
it's not like a shared universe thing. Like Paul Thomas Anderson, one of the best directors of all time, he'll cast people like Philip Seymour Hoffman in all his films. William H. Macy is in a lot of his films. He has an ensemble cast that he uses constantly, but they're not part of the same universe. David Lynch does the same thing. He'll get the same people, but they're playing different characters. I don't have a problem with that, but within the realm of Kevin Smith, and let's be completely honest here, like Kevin Smith, he is...
What is your problem with him?
My problem with him is that he is a competent film director that relies too heavily on just the crutches. But
if that's what he wants to do,
that's fine. I have no problem with that. Like,
I
don't hate Kevin Smith. I don't hate him. I think Kevin Smith, to me, I like him more as a person than I do a director.
Okay.
I like him more as an individual. He's an interesting man to listen to.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of stories to tell.
Sure.
He's charismatic.
He's very relatable in a lot of ways. He's just a guy.
He's a pop culture nerd. And I mean,
big time.
I can't ignore the fact that
Big
that's like
time.
my people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's what we do here. But at the same time, like, I just don't care for the View Askew universe anymore. And I really appreciate any time a director gets out of their comfort zone and makes something completely different. And I get that this came about because of a fucking podcast.
It's a joke on a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's two friends like spinning this ridiculous story.
But I've also seen him do things like Cop Out, like Red State, that were perfectly great movies that had nothing to do with the View Askew universe. And I'm just like, why is he not
because I think,
more of this?
And I'm just speaking out of my ass, I think that Kevin Smith makes the movies that Kevin Smith wants to make in that moment, whatever it is.
Go watch Red State. Red State is one of John Goodman's best roles ever, aside from what was that?
Are you talking about Cloverfield?
Cloverfield, but also Inside Llewyn Davis. He was awesome in that.
He's good in that. Well, he's good in help me. Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? He has a small role there, but
John Goodman is a precious boy.
No, please let nothing bad ever come out about him. I mean, he'll always be Dan from Roseanne for me.
Every time I think of John Goodman, I think of that picture that's on the internet of him wearing the Black Flag shirt. It's just like, these are
you
my
just want to hug him. I don't like him in Cloverfield Lane or whatever
you're not supposed to.
I know, but that I don't like when people I really like get super creepy.
Look, I've always said when it comes to John Goodman, I would love to see John Goodman in a film where he is playing like a serial killer.
Well, he's really unsettling in that.
Yes.
And I think that is why it's effective, because he's Dan. Because he's, I mean, although he's not a good guy in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou either.
He is the safe teddy bear father figure of every kid in the 90s.
And then suddenly his face changes and you're like, no. I don't like
He is a national treasure.
Yeah.
And he should be protected at all costs.
I hope this doesn't age badly.
Right.
I trust nothing anymore, man. Oh, okay. I don't know if I'd straight add him to the list, but I've said there were a handful of people that if anything super bad ever came out about them, I would die. And that's Mr. Rogers,
Tom Waits,
and Jackie Chan. Those are my three.
Hey, you know what? Those are three great picks because I think they're safe.
So what so you picked this movie because it's a different kind of Kevin Smith movie?
Yeah, I mean it is in the because
we have hundreds
directors
of
going outside of their comfort zone.
Okay.
That was the big thing for me is like it's different. It's something different. Even if it is campy, this is very tongue in cheek. It's played very straight by all of the actors in it.
Except for Johnny Depp.
Except for the like weird fucking shit that's going on. I mean, right? Like this is one of those things where if this were happening in real life, right? And
this would never work in real life. And that was something I
do like that, like at the beginning of the movie, it says this is based on a true story.
Well, and that's because that's where that comes from, is the true story is them developing this story in truth on a podcast. Right. So yeah, and I thought that was funny.
When you consider the fact that like this movie should be terrifying.
It is. What are you talking about? But at the same time, it's not practical. And I get that it's a fantasy, right? It's a body horror, but he couldn't live as a fucking walrus because the skin in the suit is not attached to anything. It would rot. It would fall apart. It would die. It would make him extraordinarily sick. Like skin is an organ. It's our largest organ. It is connected through capillaries and fat and all kinds of shit all over our body. You can't just take a piece of skin off, sew it together without like cure, because it's not leather, right? It is not cured skin. This is fresh skin sewed together into a suit that is attached to his face.
Well, here's the thing.
And it just, and dead fingers and all stuff like in the Walrus, like.
Michael Parks' character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it. What?
Let's do this.
Uh-huh.
So the whole point that that Justin Long goes up to Canada in the first place was to interview
the Kill Bill Kid.
Right. Who committed suicide.
Right.
And now he's like, I
got to find another story.
This is a bust. I've already spent this amount of money on a plane ticket.
$550.
I got to find something else. He's in a bar calling his friends, telling his co-host that this guy had committed suicide. Right. So he's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. Well, he goes in to use the restroom, and while he's taking a piss in the bar, he sees this thing.
This letter, which is, I'm sorry, that is female handwriting. That is female cursive.
Yeah, it's this note that's attached to the wall above the urinal.
Super flowery lyrical language about this man.
Right, about how he's had all these adventures in life, and he's looking for a roommate to live in this mansion.
If you want to live and help out with some chores I can't do anymore because I'm in a wheelchair, I can give you a place to live and tell you stories about my amazing life.
Right.
Basically.
And that's what does it.
And he's like,
okay, you know what? Maybe this isn't a bust. Maybe I can go talk to this eccentric weirdo and get some kind of story and make this worth my time.
And before it all changes his life, he does get some interesting stories.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's cool. Yeah.
When he gets there, he's talking about how he met Ernest Hemingway. Mm-hmm. He's talking about all kinds of shit in his life that has happened.
Like from World War II and
Justin Long sees something on the mantle.
Yeah.
Which is a walrus dick.
Walrus baculum. It's the bone inside of the penis. A lot of whales have them. A lot of...
Yeah.
If they have really, really, really... God, am I saying this being recorded? If they have enormous dicks, they need a bone because otherwise it can't stay up and hard long enough to get the job done. Like, that's why the baculum is a thing. And so that is a bone that is inside a lot of different mammals, not people. But... it exists. It's a thing.
So now we get told this story about how this walrus named Mr. Tusk.
Yeah, Tuskegee. Yeah, named after the one person he could trust in his life.
Right, saved his life.
Right.
You know, he was washed ashore on this island.
Yeah.
It was freezing, so he had to use Mr. Tusk to keep him warm.
And he was so kind, he let him cuddle and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where this whole thing comes from. This character, Michael Parks' character, was rescued by a walrus.
Do you think that baculum is Mr. Tusk's?
Yes.
Because you find out at the end he killed him
yes,
right before he was saved. Do you think he tore his dick off before he got on the boat to be rescued?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because it is held at the highest level of regard.
Yes, it's got its own display stand and everything.
I do need to clarify, there's no sexual element to this.
No.
It really is not he wants to fuck a walrus. That doesn't, that genuinely is not.
But what happens is eventually, you know, because he's a human, he gets hungry enough to kill Mr. Tusk, and he has to eat him to survive.
Yeah, and Mr. Tusk didn't see it coming.
And it seems like he killed him and started eating him right as he was being rescued.
Yes, no, it was the day before.
Right, there was no reason for him.
Well, but that's how you go. But he didn't know that. Right?
So mentally, this guy has snapped.
Yes.
His only friend in the world he had to kill and eat.
The only person who's ever...
And now he's trying to recreate.
Raped a lot as a kid and really treated badly.
They go into a backstory about how he was in an orphanage that the Canadians turned into mental asylums.
Yeah, well, because he hates... It taught him to hate humans. And... venerate the walrus as which makes sense given his life, right?
Yeah.
People have been nothing but terrible to him. The first creature that showed him kindness for no reason was this walrus, and then because of circumstances, he had to kill and eat him. It would have made more sense to me, honestly, for him to believe he took the power of the walrus into himself, and I don't really think that plays in, because there's that whole kind of eating the flesh of that. Yeah.
Because he ate
the
flesh, the raw flesh.
So then he should have become a better person with the walrus power within him. But that isn't what happened.
That did kind of come into play, because towards the end of the movie, you know, the whole point.
He's trying to recreate Mr. Tusk and get that moment back.
He's trying to recreate Mr. Tusk so that they can fight, and Mr. Tusk can kill him.
He has the chance to kill him because Mr. Tusk did not see it coming.
Right. He needs Mr. Tusk to have a fair
That's the level of guilt this man has over killing a walrus 40 years ago or whenever it was. Longer than that, probably.
Right. 40, 50 years, something like that.
I think he said it was like...
Because this movie takes place modern times, 2014, when it was made.
Right.
We're talking about when he was a young man.
Yes. I think he said like 1950s.
Right.
59 or something.
So he's been carrying this with him for a very long time. Mm-hmm. And the whole reason why he wants to recreate Mr. Tusk is so that he has a fighting chance to fight him one-on-one.
So then if he defeats Mr. Tusk, he knows that it was justified, but Mr. Tusk has a chance to defeat him.
Right.
And then he's square.
And from what we get from this, like, multiple people have been through this.
Many.
Many people.
Many people at many stages.
And I think
some were just harvested
each
for their
time
skin,
that he has
though.
tried, when they have obviously passed away from their injuries and shit, he kind of added them to the costume.
Pieces of them. Because Johnny Depp's character, who comes in a little later, beginning of third act, is this Quebec detective who's been tracking the serial who's been tracking the serial killer for like 10 years.
This is the only part of the movie for me that is laughably
I don't care for
bad.
it. I don't care for it.
Like, Johnny Depp's character in this movie is exceptionally bad.
It is important that we get this information because he's saying bodies are showing up, you know, with pieces of skin missing, their legs missing, their tongues ripped out, their arms are sewn to their bodies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's to mimic a walrus. We know that because we've seen what he's done to Justin Long. I will say, watching this movie again, I didn't remember exactly how relatively early into the movie Justin Long was in that fucking walrus costume. He spends a lot more time in that
real quick
than I remembered.
Yeah.
But it's been 11 years since I've seen it. So I kind of thought from my memory, it was a reveal. But I thought the reveal was at the end, and that's not the case at all. A good 3/4 of this movie.
No, I remember him like training him to swim and feeding him fish and all that shit. I remember that, but yes, like you said, it did get to the point a little quicker.
Which I do like that. We spend a lot more time there to see the breaking of Justin Long's mind. We really do.
That's the one thing I have a problem with in this movie.
You don't like that?
I don't.
Why?
Because I don't think. First of all, I don't think he was in this situation long enough to have his mind broken that way.
Okay.
Secondly, he's still a human in this costume.
Well,
he's wearing a walrus suit made of people.
It's been sewn to him.
Sure, but a good surgeon, like, look, he ain't getting out of this without scars. He's missing his legs.
He's missing both his legs from like the knees down, and he has no tongue.
His
it's like upper arm sewn to his torso, but you could undo that.
Like Johnny Depp says in some kind of weird T-Rex situation. But look, I still think a good surgeon could have freed his arms. He wouldn't have legs.
No. The ending of the movie is fucking ridiculous.
It is stupid.
It is, but that goes back to the podcast that started this whole thing because over the credits, they play that part of Kevin Smith and his friend, and I'm sorry, I don't know the guy's name.
They do
them working out the end, and they're like, no, he's gone full walrus. He can't go back. So it's intentionally ridiculous.
But first, they play a solemn
shut up
lullaby.
So all right. So
let's get into this.
I did not particularly want to watch this movie again because it legitimately disturbed me. What
was it about it that was so disturbing?
This is going to go to kind of gendery places, I think.
Okay.
I hate being this person. I do sometimes have a fear of older men going real dark.
Okay.
And you have no control. I don't like that.
Okay. No, I understand. But...
And Michael Parks does it so well. He appears, and it's all intentional, obviously, right? He's in a wheelchair when you meet him, so you think he can't walk.
Right.
He is made to be as...
He's playing up this role of
as helpless as possible. Right.
To let your guard down.
But then... And it's a great reveal once Justin Long, he's lost one leg at that point and he's waking up. He's told this lie about being bit by a brown recluse, which plays into Guy Lapointe, meeting Howard Howe 10 years earlier. There's little pieces. Dr. Mosier, is there
all
now. The brown recluse.
Sense.
It's this lore he's been building as excuses this whole time.
And by the way, like for all that this movie is, campy and silly in a lot of ways, it's played very dark, very straight.
Yes.
And it's very competent. Like
it's unsettling.
For all that this was made out of a silly podcast.
There is something about an old man suddenly and you like Justin Long he plays it so well. I love that he flips the fuck out, starts screaming at him, and then screaming in general.
Moments in this movie with Justin Long where his character from Idiocracy comes through.
He even talked about the stethoscope at one point. And I was like, Justin Long's triumphant return.
Just some of the facial expressions when he gets freaked out. And like, his character from Idiocracy comes through in this a lot.
But he really does a very good job. And I feel as shit of a person as he is, he did not deserve this shit. But no,
not at all.
More so than the body horror of what's done to him, Michael Parks scares the shit out of me in this. Like, genuinely, I don't like watching him. So we get to the end of the movie. Okay, we'll start with this. A song starts playing, and my soul froze inside my body because I immediately recognized it, but I was like, I need to listen more. And it's this old traditional song. It's like a sea shanty song. It's called Old Wally Wally, or The Water is Wide, right? It's one of those traditional songs. But this particular version, I was like, no. Because I knew that, and I kept waiting for something to be slightly different so I could be like, okay, thank God, no. It got to the point where it was concerning enough I had to look it up. And Chad, what is my favorite band of all time? For better or worse, you know me. Who is my favorite band?
The Village People.
Correct. Second? So I'm wearing an...
Wham?
Oh my God, I'm done with you. Wham? No. Jesus, give me Culture Club over Wham if we're talking gay 80s guys. No. All right. You won't play along, so fine. My Chemical Romance is my favorite band of all time. And I knew this version very well because this version is sung by Gerard Way, who's the lead singer of My Chemical Romance.
I would have never thought, because
why would you? You thought it was a woman?
I did.
That was a song that randomly came up as recommended to me like 5 or 6 years ago on YouTube, but it has like the thumbnail is that of him from Danger Days, so he's got the red hair, and it just says, "Oh, Wally Wally," in parentheses, "The Water is Wide," and it's just his cover. And I was like, huh. So I listened to it, and it's haunting and beautiful.
And now it's ruined.
No, it's not. I refuse. I listened to it a lot when I wrote. Like, there is a quality to it that I really, really like. But Ed Sheeran did a version of The Drinking Glass that I love traditional songs redone by people I love.
Sure.
So yeah, that was a very personal thing for me that I just really loved. I don't even know if a lot of people knew he did that. And I certainly didn't know it was like connected to this movie. It's on the fucking soundtrack.
Yeah.
So when that started, I was like, what? So
I had no connection to this song
It's
whatsoever.
Just another weird thing that viewing this movie again a second time, 11 years later, like Harley Morstein, I didn't know who the fuck he was in 2014. I know him through Game Grumps. Then here comes Gerard right at the end, and I was like, I don't know what anything is anymore.
Are you questioning your sanity, your reality?
It was just an odd thing. I mean, honestly, it makes sense. This seems like the kind of movie that he'd be like, oh, fuck yeah, hell yeah, I'll do that.
Was this song made for this movie?
No. That is it's hundreds of years old.
No. I know, but his version of this, was it specifically?
I will say it's on the official soundtrack.
Is it on one of his albums?
No. He only has one solo album, Resident Alien. Don't make me show my nerddom.
This had to be.
I think it was recorded for them because, and the shit thing was, there's a point in which Michael Parks in this movie sings the song leaned up against Justin Long in the Walrus suit, and it made me think because. That's the version I know is Gerard's version. Right. So I already had that in my head. He sings it in this, and he doesn't really sing. He kind of recites it like slowly, right? Kind of to the tune, to the melody. So I already had that in my head. And then at the end of the movie, when the credits start, like it fades away from Justin Long still being a fucking walrus in a sanctuary eating a fish. And then here comes Gerard, and I was like, this cannot be.
This is ridiculous.
What? Yeah, so I put on my Chemical Romance Danger Days shirt today to honor that what the fuck just happened in my life.
Right.
Moment that I had that genuinely shocked me. Like
as far as a movie
Uh-huh.
for this podcast or any podcast that talks about movies.
The podcast we're doing, the podcast it's about, or the podcast it came from?
All of the above. Like, there really isn't a whole lot to talk about here. It is a body horror comedy.
I know it's not a comedy. There's dumb moments. And I get that Guy Lapointe is like intentionally over the top and ridiculous. It is a horror story though. Like, honestly, it's something I had never seen. The concept of being like, he has no movement, right? He has no legs. He cannot move. He has no voice. He cannot talk.
See,
that is fucking horrifying.
I saw
as
this,
silly as it is to be a walrus.
The first time I saw
Holy
this,
shit,
I had
dude.
already seen Human Centipede.
Oh, see, to this day, okay.
You
to
don't
be fair,
wanna watch
no,
Human
I know.
Centipede.
You watched it. You said, Jess, don't watch this.
Yeah.
I said, aye, Captain.
Feed her!
Oh my God, the fucking levels on that. To this day, I have not seen Human Centipede. I don't want to. I know the concept.
You do not.
That's
wanna
enough
watch
for
that.
me. Again, that would not fucking work. But we're not here to talk medical surgery.
Right, but Human Centipede was not a story told tongue-in-cheek like this movie is. It was a very, like, serious film.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And for all that it's, like, you know, taking humans and combining them together, and just the idea of the movie is silly. The movie itself was told very...
What, you mean Human Centipede?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, there's similarities here too, though, because the premise is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And in
Yes,
truth, again, wouldn't work.
No.
But
Medically, scientifically.
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
it wouldn't work. That's not how skin works. That's not how trauma to the human body. He would have died from having all of that done to him, or if not soon after, because of the infections that would set. I'm going to gross myself out. I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
It wouldn't work. Okay. He's got dead flesh because he's, his like, walrus
Flippers.
yeah, have tons of extra fingers there from previous victims.
Right.
It wouldn't work like that. And I mean, you do see there's an underwater scene, which again, I have issues with water. And there's a scene where he goes underwater and he sees this rotting carcass of clearly a human skull with the tusks attached.
The previous Mr. Tusk.
Right. Who didn't work out. I mean, there's one part Michael Parks says, you lasted longer than any of the others. I feel like come on, let's
Not
fucking
to mention,
do this.
like, having a rotting corpse in a body of water
You
like
can't
this,
do that.
you would get extremely sick.
He would die. He would have died long before.
There would have been infections.
So there's a
sicknesses.
fantasy quote unquote element
Right.
to this. You have to suspend disbelief to a point,
Yeah.
right? But if you can, it's fucking horrifying. The concept of being, you can't move, you can't talk. This old fucking terrifying guy fucking has you and could do anything. It's, okay, this is going to sound really bad. It's somehow worse that it's not sexual, because that would make more sense to me than this recreating this moment to have this battle and, Kevin Smith, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's well done. It affected me. I don't like this movie. Is it well made? Overall, yes. I wish Johnny Depp's thing wasn't a part, but again, it does explain a lot about it. He's there for exposition and comedy, right? Because otherwise this movie is so fucked up. You almost need that Johnny Depp with a lot of prosthetics and a weird accent. He's great at sometimes having an accent, right? In a lot of his movies, he kind of like fades in and out, whether it's Pirates or Chocolat or whatever. And we're not going to Johnny Depp right now. Oh God, yeah, or From Hell.
I like From Hell.
No, I do too. Again, but Ian Holm in that creeps the fuck out of me. I don't like that movie because of him. And he almost ruined Lord of the Rings for me, because there's this one moment when Bilbo goes, ah, and I'm like, ah, no.
I know what you're talking about.
To this day, I've seen that once, and that was in theaters when Fellowship was in theaters, because, I'm 41. We're uncovering issues for me that I don't really want to talk about on the podcast.
Well, how about this? As a whole, do you recommend
Honestly,
watching the
yes,
movie?
I do. With the knowledge that this came from the minds of two friends on a podcast trying to create the creepiest, grossest, funniest, most ridiculous thing they could think of. It is playing off of each other and building this thing, and then having a community that was like, I have to see this insanity.
This movie is like quintessentially,
it's crowdsourced without money
from nothing,
from the people. Yes,
right. It was just,
it's a bit. Yeah. It's a bit that became a movie, and because Kevin Smith had done what he did, and he became the name that he did, he was able to make this. And I champion that 100%. Do I want to watch it again? Please no. But I'm glad it exists because of what it represents.
So you're recommending it?
I do. Just
I recommend it too. I think that this is like one of those things where it's like, you know, when you take a director like Kevin Smith and you get him out of his safe zone into something else, it works for me. This movie works for me. Just like Red State worked for me. Cop Out worked for me. There's other movies outside of the View Askew universe that he has created that work for me far more than the safe crutch that he has relied on time and time and time again. I still want to
go watch Dogma again now, though. I love that movie. I don't care what anybody says.
As far as outside of the View Askew universe, movies that he has created, I say Red State was probably his best. Go watch that. Definitely watch Tusk, especially if you've never seen it. If you're a fan of Kevin Smith, you've seen it anyway.
Right. If you're a fan of body horror, you know, because it is very body horror. Holy shit. Which normally to me, I don't tend to... The only body horror I watch is Japanese. Because in my opinion, they do it best. Yeah. They really fucking do.
Tokyo Gore Police. Go watch it.
Oh my God. Well, or even anime. Go back to Akira. If you've never seen Akira... That's a classic and it's animated, but that's fucking body horror. Like, yeah. And the effects were clearly practical in this movie. Like, he is in that fucking suit. 100%. And I appreciate the dedication to the bit that made them go this hard and this far with this movie. Right. I didn't want to watch this movie again when you brought it up. And to be completely honest, because we've been talking about this off and on for a month or two now. I never reminded you of it because I kind of hoped you'd forget about it because I didn't want to watch it again. But after watching it again, Gerard, what the fuck? I can't say I'm a fan that one of my favorite little offshoots of Gerard Way's like discography comes from this movie. There's but that tracks. Of course, he turned down Twilight for the money because he didn't fucking like the premise, and then went with this instead. That tracks for me with Gerard Way.
To be fair, I'd rather do this movie than Twilight.
Well, because they wanted My Chemical Romance before they went with Muse and Super Awesome Black Hole, whatever that is.
Supermassive.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, it's been a long time.
I'm a huge fan of Muse. So get it right.
No. I liked the song and it worked. But originally, Stephenie Meyer, specifically the author of Twilight, wanted My Chemical Romance, and they said no. So, anyways, there's your lore for the day of my MCR bullshittery that lives in my head.
Just to end this, if you could recommend one Kevin Smith movie to watch,
it's always going to be Dogma.
Why?
Because at the time it came out, and I can only speak to then because that's when I saw it, and it lives in a special place in my heart. The takedown, the systematic takedown and showing of fallacies of organized religion in that movie was genius. Okay? You have to keep in mind, that was what, like 98, 99, something like that?
Yeah, 98, I believe.
You did not... George Carlin is the cardinal. Like, he's a cardinal in the Catholic Church.
He was also Mr. Conductor, to be fair.
Okay, but he, since then, thank you, had made... Like, it is full of people who are looking at the shit you are told to just blindly believe and showing how fucking ridiculous it is. And Jason Lee's fantastic in it. He's a devil. He's a demon in that. It's got a ton of famous people, but they're look
Matt
at the
Damon's
prophets. They're look at the apostles.
Alanis Morissette.
Alanis Morissette is God. Okay? Alan Rickman is a seraphim. He's the highest choir of angels. He is the voice of God. Mm-hmm. It It is satire and it is parody, but it's really well done. It follows there's a couple of different stories, but it follows this descendant of Christ, because that in and of itself was super fucking, like, what do you mean? Christ didn't fuck. Oh yeah, he didn't actually here. She's the descendant. So she has to stop these two renegade angels from trying to enter heaven after they were cast out, because that would break reality, because that goes against God's word and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So it's full of religious connotation with absolute ridiculousness. I mean, literally Mooby, right? The golden calf, Mega Mooby muffin. He's like McDonald's, but it's the golden calf.
Right.
Like, which is, it all goes back to religious shit. It's really, as a person who grew up first non-religious and then pagan, because my mom was pagan and, all of that shit, that was instrumental for me to say, look, fuckers, do you see how your shit doesn't make sense? Now, again, I will say, if you are Christian and it works for you and you are a true Christian, right? You want to live a good life. Like, do what actually Christ said if he was real. Awesome. And I love that for you, because the handful of true Christians I have known in this life were kind and beautiful and wonderful. This isn't that. This takes the corporatization, right, through Buddy Christ and other shit like that, of what all the shit that has been done in his name and what has been done to a very simple message at the end of the day. It's beautiful. I love it. And it's fucking hilarious.
Well,
that's what I think.
I think you should go watch this movie simply because it's...
Well, you asked what my favorite Kevin Smith movie was. That's my favorite Kevin Smith movie, and that's why.
Tusk. Go watch it.
You should.
If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's outside of Kevin Smith's safe zone. Mm-hmm. I would say if you watch one Kevin Smith movie at all, watch Red State.
I figured. I was like...
Red State... In and of its own, it is a fantastic film. It has nothing to do with the View Askew universe or anything else that Kevin Smith has done.
Right.
It's, in a lot of ways, a religious movie.
I'll be completely honest with you. I don't remember it. Did I ever see it?
I don't think you didn't watch it with me.
Okay.
I watched it on,
because your job is to remember what I've seen.
I think Red State is by far his best movie.
Maybe I should go watch it then.
Yeah, you should. Red State is an awesome film, and you would have no clue that it was directed by Kevin Smith.
Who's in it?
John Goodman.
Oh. Dan.
He plays a detective / cop. Anyways.
Okay.
Go watch it. I don't want to give too much away for that.
Right.
As far as Tusk goes, yeah, I think you should watch it. It came out in that time of not only like the in the wake of the Human Centipede body horror stuff, but also like it really has a lot of it's got a lot of what we do here, right? I mean, there's a podcast involved.
Again,
a podcast created this film.
Yes,
a community of podcast listeners came together to make
and
this
they
film
said,
happen.
yes, we want to see this. And he said, fucking heard, let's do this shit. And he went hard on it.
And it like I
and
mentioned
everybody
before,
gives great performances aside from Johnny Depp. God damn it, just stay in Benny and June forever, would you please? God damn it.
Like I mentioned before, this is definitely one of those movies that is the epitome of something from nothing.
Yes, and I will always champion that, man. I have an independent publishing house, right? We have a podcast that just started because we have things to say and we like talking to each other and we like talking about this shit. There is a huge movement and it grows every year of one of the good things about the internet is that you can put anything out there and make your art say what you want to say. And if you can find an audience, you could even possibly, theoretically, make it work for you monetarily. I don't think that should be the focus or the aim. But we live in an age for all that people are like, oh, the world is shit. There is more freedom right now in this, right now. Like the fact that we can just record this and put it on the internet, and if people find it, they can listen to it. Artists, many fucking musical artists or filmmakers or whatever, start from nothing but passion and a determination and turn it into something. And I will always fucking champion that. That is awesome. That's what I love to see. I don't give a shit about Hollywood. I don't give a shit about the corporations. I want to see art that's from an idea, even if it's fucking ridiculous like this movie. This had a force of people who were fans of Kevin Smith because of other shit he did, which he also started independent, as we know. And this came into being. So I do think the context of how this movie came about adds a lot to why I would say you should go see this. Because this is what a random fucking bit on a podcast can become.
There you have it, folks. Podcasts are powerful.
Yeah. Woo!
Where can people find you, Jess?
I am at JHLMoon on Instagram. Please check out my independent publishing house at Shadow Spark Publishing. That's shadowsparkpub.com. Yeah, I write books, but a lot of other more talented people do too. So,
hey, that's nothing against you.
You said that's
I'm
just
agreeing.
more talented people that, whatever. No, we've got fantasy, we've got sci-fi, we've got horror, we've got no nonfiction, but yeah, we've got a really
Science
cool
fiction.
kind of family of weirdos that we've kind of gathered. So, and I love them and they're great. I do have another podcast there. It's kind of it used to be a weekly thing. Now it's much more when we have something to say, we'll say it type thing. But yeah, you can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter, on Instagram, on Blue Sky, on Threads. I think my authors go and create social media pages with our blessing, but I kind of forget.
Right.
There's a Pinterest. They do things. I don't know. Yeah, that's me.
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Chad J. Moon. You can find the podcast at the Pretty Little Podcast on Instagram.
With
we also have
underscores in between each word.
Sure.
Yeah.
We also have a YouTube channel at youtube.com/at the Pretty Little Podcast 69420.
Hell yeah.
Bullet Machine, take us out.
Mwah.